This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish, founder of Abish Financial Services.
And I'm Heather Branch here with Abe, asking for his insight and ideas on what you could be doing to better prepare for your financial future. TheRetirementKey.com is where you can go to begin your own conversation with Abe and the entire team at Abish Financial Services. We also have links posted in the show notes so you can click there, or again, find us at TheRetirementKey.com. All right, Abe, we have a tone, a theme for our program today about clarifying. I was just looking at everything we had planned to discuss and go through, and it's all about just talking about things that are on the news, but also something that's been coming up on a conversation on a local level in your office.
Yes.
Something that you wanted to work to clarify. You were saying you've been getting a specific question a lot lately in the past few weeks from folks coming to you, and you wanted to help kind of draw the curtain back a little bit on a couple of things.
Yeah, Heather, I think when it comes to retirement planning and financial planning, we want to be focused on our big picture goals, on a long-term plan, and not getting bogged down into the wars going on, interest rates, inflation, the election next year. I mean, there's always something, right?
Right.
But focusing on our long-term financial and retirement plan instead. But lately, here in the last 2 weeks, we've had at least 10 households come in to our office and say, "Hey, Abe and the team, have you ever heard of this 12-10-10 IRA or 12-10 IRA?" And I said, "Of course I have," and explained what it is. And basically, the 12-10 IRA or 12-10-10 IRA, which is advertised a lot on this station, is simply a nickname for a fixed indexed annuity. And annuities are that A word, right? There are some good annuities or bad annuities. Annuities happen to get a bad rap in the industry. And again, some are garbage and some are fantastic.
Right.
But you definitely want to stay the course and focus on your long-term plan. And that may or may not be a good product, but you don't want to get caught up in purchasing something that may have nothing to do with your long-term plan and getting caught up in a salesy, gimmicky nickname type of thing.
Okay.
You want to have someone manage your whole plan. So just be aware, if things sound too good to be true, they probably are.
Got it.
You want to do your research, and hey, if it's, an annuity that's being recommended, then you want to know it's an annuity, right? Or life insurance policy, or an ETF portfolio, a stock portfolio, whatever it is. So, we try to be as transparent here at Abish Financial as possible. And we can do anything in the market, anything out of the market, but I think focusing on that long-term plan, don't get caught up in short-term things and things that maybe sound too good to be true.
Right.
Because there's always a catch, or usually a catch, when it comes to those types of deals. So I'll say not a sermon, just a thought, as one of our local preachers here in the area has always said.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense, especially in this space, because it could very easily become a soapbox moment, but that's not what the team at Abish Financial Services is here to do. They are here to have you better understanding, more clarity, always, of course, available for a second opinion on your retirement portfolio. So again, TheRetirementKey.com is where you can find us and begin that conversation. All right, let's continue on then this notion about clarification, because recently BlackRock, we've all heard the name BlackRock, this investment company, to say the very least. They manage $8.5 trillion of money. With a T. So they released this new report with some interesting conclusions about creating a successful retirement. And they mentioned things like delaying Social Security, delaying retirement if necessary, decreasing risk, optimizing asset allocation, even using guaranteed income products like annuities. And why it might be confusing for some is because BlackRock is a very pro-market company, Abe. So is it surprising to you that they're recommending moves outside of risk and the market?
I don't think so. I don't think it is surprising, Heather, especially, given the audience that this article might have been towards or for. And, especially if you are 55 or older, right? 60s, 70s, and you have enough saved. We talk about it all the time. You've won the game in terms of having accumulated enough or simply that your income will exceed your expenses in retirement. If that's the case and you've had that math run and you've gotten a complimentary second opinion by a fiduciary retirement planner who really specializes in retirement planning, and they're saying to you, Heather, you have enough money saved, you have enough income to exceed your expenses adjusted for inflation the rest of your life, then why take on any extra risk than necessary? So even BlackRock, one of the largest, if not the largest, money manager in the world, is saying, hey, as we approach retirement, we should be considering de-risking, decreasing risk at the point of retirement. Why? Because our wages are going to be gone. They're going to end. We're choosing to retire, and we're choosing to fall back on the last 30 to 40 years of our work to last us the next 30 to 40 years in retirement. So naturally, we want to be cautiously optimistic. We want to start thinking about protecting and preserving the fruits of our labor so we don't run out in our golden years.
Okay.
So we just had a gentleman come into the office, called into the show, came into the office, and he's a 30-year retired police officer with Fairfax County.
Nice.
So we thanked him for his service. And, a bunch of other people are retiring from the county around this time as well. And while he had a successful career and accumulated almost $1 million, lives in Fairfax as well, he basically had no plan. He knew he was going to go onto a pension and be on fixed income the rest of his life. But he had no strategy, no plan. All he ever knew was working and serving the local community and maxing out his 403B, an employer plan. And he didn't know what else existed after that, right? Because the majority of our industry just focuses on helping people to accumulate and save. And although that's not bad or wrong, money doesn't come with instructions, and money comes with very little instruction when you hit the point of retirement and you're descending down your own retirement mountain into your golden years. So his concerns, we always ask people, Heather, when they come in, why are you here? What are you concerned with? What keeps you up at night, if anything? What are your biggest concerns and fears that we can help address so we can protect and preserve this nest egg as best as possible, right? And then what's important to you? What are you going to do with your time? Do you want to pass money on to your family? Are you going to be volunteering? Do you have any hobbies? What's going to keep up, what's going to occupy your time? And what is going to continue to give you purpose the rest of your life as well? So his major problems when it came to finances were that he had no plan, Heather, to transition into retirement. So he didn't want to worry about the income that he was receiving. He wanted to know when to take Social Security. He wanted to live comfortably, and he wanted to address the higher tax bill that is likely to happen on his nest egg, because that $1 million in his Fairfax County employer plan was all pre-taxed, had never been taxed. So the solution for this gentleman, just like so many people that come into our office for a complimentary second opinion, was to give him a comprehensive retirement roadmap. That roadmap addresses everything, not just investments, but all these other decisions that are now super important that weren't important or relevant when you were 45, 50, and 55, right? You can't take Social Security before 62 for most people. You can't hop on Medicare before 65, right? So all these decisions really don't matter too much when you're younger. But you hit the point of retirement and get closer and closer, they are. So we put together a retirement roadmap. And so for any of you listening right now, if you sound like this gentleman, you're just about to retire or just have, or maybe are retiring in the next year or two, and you don't have an exit plan, you don't have a transition plan to help you cross over into retirement successfully, and to put that comprehensive roadmap together, we want to offer that to you right now complimentary. So if you're 55 years old and older, and if you saved $500,000 or more for your retirement as well, go to theretirementkey.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click on those if that's an easier way for you to get to our website, or again, find us anytime at theretirementkey.com. As I said, the theme today is helping to clarify, because we are continuing on with things that are confusing, Abe. It doesn't make sense when you can get a higher return for a 1-year bond than a 3-year bond. However, that's what's happening right now. It is called an inverted yield curve. And for all of those who did not do well in economics, our eyes just rolled back in the head by the mention of inverted yield curve. But the thing about it is, what you do need to pay attention to is that it does often signal a recession, which has been something that everybody's been talking about. Is it coming or not? It's been slow to come on. Money manager Paul Hickey was telling Fox Business that it is still possible.
Typically, when the curve first inverts till when a recession starts, the average amount is 589 calendar days, which is about a year and a half. The curve has only been inverted for almost a year now, so I wouldn't write off a recession.
He's saying don't write up a recession because it sounds like he said 6 months is what he's based his math on. 18 months, we're 12 months in. Would a recession mean that you need to adjust a retiree's portfolio? What would those adjustments be? How are you addressing this concern with folks in your office right now?
Yeah, Heather, good questions. Let's talk about the inverted yield curve first.
Okay.
And that's really the idea that, typically, let's compare it to compare bonds to CDs here real quick, just in terms of maturity and length. You go down to the bank, you buy a 6-month CD, you're going to get X interest rate. You buy a 5-year CD, you're naturally going to get more interest because you just committed your money for 4.5 more years.
Right. Okay.
Same thing with bonds, right? You buy a 1-month, 6-month, 1-year bond. Mm-hmm. Typically, those interest rates and yields are going to be less than a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, 30-year bond because you're not committing for as long as that time period. But the opposite is true, as you just mentioned. We have an inverted yield curve, which means a 6-month treasury currently is paying over 5.5%, which is more than a 10 or 30-year bond. So why then would you put your money in a 10 or 30-year bond if you can pick up more interest and yield on a shorter-term instrument and investment? And so, just a few years ago, Heather, we were talking about cash is trash, right? We were calling it dead money, and it was dead because interest rates were in the gutter, and they were in the gutter for 15 years, which is what drove the stock market up. I mean, you couldn't even make 1% in the bank, and now we're talking about making like 5 on a money market, 4, 4.5, 5, maybe even over 5 right now on a CD. So we can actually, in an uncertain and volatile environment, grow our nest eggs and grow our retirement accounts through yield, through interest, not just pure accumulation and appreciation of a portfolio, which is normal in the stock market.
Okay.
So we actually just had a gentleman call in and come into the show from La Plata, Maryland. This is a Waldorf area. We're talking about hour and a half, 2 hours away from our office. Yeah. And he and his wife also have $1 million saved.
Okay.
Concerned with maybe a recession coming up. Concerned with all the uncertainty and volatility going on with interest rates and inflation and the wars and election next year, you name it, as we talked about earlier. And concerned because they're a 5 on our risk scale and retiring in 2 years, 24 months or less until full retirement. Yeah. We're talking the retirement red zone, which is that 5-year period or less away till full retirement. So they're on the goal line of their own retirement. So as we did this portfolio x-ray and gave them a complimentary second opinion on everything that they've done for retirement, they want to be a 5. We found out they were a 7, which is 70% stocks instead of 50% stocks. And also, all of their money was in company 401k plans where the expense ratios and the costs, fees, and expenses were way too high. Actually, they were at 0.70, which is 70% of 1%. So they're paying just under 1% for no management, no advice, no guidance. These are just the mutual fund costs in his 401k.
Okay. Too
much risk, too many fees, too high cost, without any advice. Right? I mean, no one's helping them. It's not like they're paying an advisor a fee on top of it.
Right.
So we found out all of this as we did that portfolio x-ray and analysis. They got us the statements. We found out what they're invested in, what is a stock bond cash split, how much does it cost them, and we realized they're going too fast down the financial highway. They're taking on too much risk. So what we did, what we recommended, and the changes that we implemented were reducing risk in their portfolio from a 7 to a 5, bringing that stock exposure down from a 70 to a 50 in terms of percentages, and also decreasing the expenses inside their investments. So, our average fund expenses, because we use a lot of stocks and ETFs on the market side, might be 0.05 to 0.1, but that's like 6 to 7 times less the cost of his mutual funds,
Yeah.
So we put together a plan that basically meets his current needs, right? Reduces the risk, reduces the cost on the investments. So if you're listening right now and you sound like this couple in the Plate of Maryland and you really don't have a really good idea of what you're invested in, how much risk you're taking, what it's actually costing you, and if this portfolio is the right portfolio for this next season of your life, go to the retirementkey.com. Click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there, and that will take you to our website. Or again, find us anytime at theretirementkey.com.